Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Megan, and today I'm going to be discussing the next book I read this year. It's called Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. So let's get into it. I absolutely love this book. This is by far the best book I've read this year. I haven't laughed this much while reading a book in a very long time. I know that sounds kind of weird to say when there are serious subject matters that happen in this book, but the two main characters, the situations that they are in and the way they react and work together, it's so funny. At the beginning of the book, there is an excerpt warning because the main character's mom has dementia. Part of the storyline is the main character, Samantha, coming home to California to help care for her mother with her other siblings and her father. And then there's also an excerpt about animal abuse. So the main guy in the book, Xavier, he is a vet and he owns his own clinic. So there are a couple situations where there may be talk about abuse. And so I think that the author just wanted to warn people in case they're triggered by that. But when I read the book, there wasn't anything that was extreme. I think Abby does a really good job at talking about serious or traumatic experiences mixed with like comedy and things that the characters are going through. So when Xavier and Samantha save a dog from a heated car, because everything turns out okay and the way that it's approached, it isn't triggering, or at least it isn't for me. I was going to be a little worried because of the thing. I was like, oh man, hopefully this is not like a super heavy book. But it's actually one of the most beautiful books I think I've read in the rom-com genre. Just the way that Samantha and her family care for her mother. It's just so beautiful to watch, or to read, to watch. It is just so beautiful to read. And I was just grinning throughout the entire book because it was so beautiful. And I just love the way that it was written. I don't think I've read, or at least I don't think this year, but it's been a while since I read a book where the characters mesh so well together and they get along. And while reading this, Samantha and Xavier, I was like, wow, they are a really good match. The way they communicate, the way they are in their lives, and the love that they start to have for each other. It's just really nice to read a positive story for specifically these two characters because they are in a long distance relationship and they do, struggle through things. But I really like how it's written in a positive light. And I feel Abby does that really good. This is only the third book I've read of hers, but this is probably by far my favorite that I've read of hers. She reminds me a little bit of Emily Giffin, or at least Emily's recent 3 books, which are the 3 that I've read, where in the summer pack there was also a warning prior because one of the characters ends up killing herself. And so the suicide thing is part of it, but it is also approached in a very light and respectful manner, and I really liked that about that book. And so Abby and Emily in their most recent books kind of remind me of each other, and so they're definitely lighthearted. It's not like a toxic relationship, but it was just a really good love story between these two characters that actually ended up being very compatible, and I really loved them together. And I can't say that about every book that I've read. As I mentioned before, the dementia storyline was just beautifully written. There was a part in the book where the main character, Samantha, says it's really interesting and beautiful to witness someone else's life. It's definitely articulated much better, but that is one of the moments that I really liked in the book because she knows that because her mom is suffering from dementia, she will never witness the things in her daughter's life the way that her daughter is seen in her mother's life. And so I just thought that was like a beautiful line because the way that the whole family decides to take care of her is just so beautiful in itself, and the mental strength that they all have, and they want to be there for their mother because she has dementia. Like, she's only 53, the mother is, and so it's a very young age to have dementia. And so there is a will they or won't they put her in a home, and so that becomes a major part to, like, halfway to towards the end. I'm like, what should we do with mom? Because there are other obstacles that come throughout the book once everyone, moves back home and lives under their grandmother's roof. I just really appreciate the positive spin on everything. And I just think could be a good example for maybe other people who may be experiencing these situations with their family members, or what Samantha and Xavier face in their romantic relationship, and have this feeling of hope and celebration. And I just thought it was just beautifully done. And I just really appreciated the positive spin, because there are so many books that are like so toxic and it's glamorized. And I felt this one, it felt a little bit like reality, and I just absolutely loved it. I don't want to give away too much of the ending, but they are in a long distance relationship, and I think the title Say You'll Remember Me is like a double meaning, because it's her mom, Samantha's mom, is suffering from dementia, so there's that aspect of Say You'll Remember Me. And then the night that Xavier and Samantha meet, she is actually getting ready to go back home to California, but like he doesn't know that. And so she's just like, well, it's just like, she just figured it'd be like a one night hookup, which never happened. And he's like, what am I going to do? Because he finds out that she's actually moving back to California, not coming back. And she's like, just forget me. And so he cannot forget her. So he ends up like traveling to California a couple of times to see her, because he's like, I can't not see you. And she was just like, I told you to forget me and like let it go, or whatever. He's like, it's the best date of my life. And she's just like, it was the best date of my life too. And so they have never been romantically involved at this point. He just misses her, and she starts to miss him. And so after the second trip, I believe, they start texting and talking with each other. And basically they're in a long distance relationship, and both of them aren't in the financial or career-wise where they want to be in order to sacrifice one location for another. But you learn that it takes a toll on them. So throughout the book, or at least towards the back half of the book, it's about, is one of them going to sacrifice for the love that they have each other, whether he moves to California or she moves back to Minnesota. And that's kind of like the back half of the book is just waiting for the moment to happen. Who's going to do it? Who's going to sacrifice? Because you could tell that they really love each other, and they both aren't willing or necessarily in the position for that. But in my mind, I'm like, if you love each other so much, you both obviously got to sacrifice something. And so it's like, are you, one of you, going to come to a realization that you're going to sacrifice your living arrangement for the love of your life? And so that's one of the things that they have to work out together, is who's going to sacrifice what, and when is that going to happen? So there were so many good things about this book. I just loved every storyline. I really loved all the characters and the adversity and the struggles, and just all coming together as a family, because they do have their disagreements, but they all want the same thing, is about working together in order to achieve that. And I just think it was just beautifully written. So if you're into something that's, you want a feel-good story, I would definitely recommend reading this book. That's it for my review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.